Welcome to another episode of the It's a Mimic podcast, where I, Megan, sit down with a couple of other amazing ladies to dig up the dirt on the Undead in Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. For this episode, I've resurrected Casey and Ehlwyn, or Ellie, so we can sink our teeth into this episode called Eidolons and their Statues of Limitations.
For this episode on the It's a Mimic channel, we are going to stand vigilant as we plunge into the topic of Eidolons, the variant from Theros, and the constructs that come with them.
All right, but hold the phone here. So, Ehlwyn, Ellie, it's your first day. It's your first Welcome to the podcast.
Hello, thanks for having me.
So, welcome to the calamity that is the Undead series. We are so stoked to have yet another voice, not only just another voice, but another feminine voice along with ours. But please tell us about yourself. What's your story? What's your background? Do you play D&D often?
Yeah, my name's Ellie, or Ehlwyn. I have been in the realm and world of D&D for probably about the last 8-9 years now. Introduced to it by my spouse and our great team of friends. And so by day, I work in health and safety in the oil and gas industry. By night, game board geek and tabletop RPG player.
Man, I love the fact that you work in health and safety, just knowing who you are as a person. It just rocks my world.
Yes. It kind of stumbled upon me, I guess. Or was it inevitable?
I think it was inevitable, to be honest with you. But yeah, we're going to do our first episode. Congratulations on joining us on the Undead series.
Thank you. Happy to be here. Ready to have some fun. But first, I guess we should get on to the topic. Before we get any further into this topic, I want to point out that there are some very similar kinds of creatures. Ghosts, spirits, demons, and other creatures that can possess living creatures in D&D. Poltergeists are invisible specters that throw items, but Eidolons inhabit items that make them move seemingly on their own. From statues and dolls and scarecrows to mannequins and carvings and even corpses, as long as the object has been specifically prepared through dark rituals, an Eidolon can inhabit it. I ask, what is the creepiest object an Eidolon could inhabit?
Your car.
Your bed.
Your bed? Okay. Would that be a bad thing?
Depends who's in it.
Very true.
Fair enough.
If it's your mom, not so much.
Oh. Okay. We never once have we made a your mom joke on this podcast until today, I'm pretty sure. Today's day one
Today's
of your
the day
mom
one.
jokes.
I feel honored to inspire that.
Welcome.
See? It tops the list then.
Yeah. What about you, Ellie? What's the creepiest object?
I feel like I just need to go stereotypical because I have a thing about dolls and clowns.
Oh yeah, clowns.
Yeah,
And so just any sort of innocent childhood toy becomes then just things of nightmares.
Absolutely things of nightmares. No, yeah.
No.
Ugh.
Not interested.
No.
Annabelle, man.
No, I feel like my car is my answer. Because I feel like it would take me places I don't want to go. I would never be able to use my car. Then it becomes useless.
See, and when I think of things possessing cars, I think of Knight Rider, the show, but... But this is on the haunted side, so I would tend to agree. This is probably not a thing that you would want.
No, because I would my car is very much a staple in my life as a piece of freedom. If you were to possess my car and I can no longer use it for what it's needed for, I would no longer want my vehicle, and I would be I would be pissed.
Yes, the sense of dread every time you need to get to work.
Yeah, yeah. And we could go super gross and super creepy like we normally do, but I felt like I was going to be a little PG for that one.
Well, I dropped that.
Yeah. So. Well, with your mom joke, absolutely. All right, so as mentioned previously, Eidolons and how they differ from poltergeists. However, it is key to note that the most things, like in Theros and other books, they usually are represented from a piece of our history, right? So these things actually come from Greek history and Greek mythology. In real life, Eidolons exist in stories and myths told within their historian writings, and they are represented much the same as they are, as basically being energies and things that inhabit other beings and or other objects, much like demonic possession, like as we represent it in today's age. However, the key difference to note is that it isn't always believed to be something bad in the histories. I myself am a very spiritual person. We all know this. I do believe that the moon has an impact on our sacks of water bodies that walk this earth, of course. But it is always beared in mind that spirits and energy as a whole are not inherently evil or malicious. In fact, the Eidolons of the Greek times were usually thought to be basically people that deliver messages or present a solution to an idea for someone in need, as well as thought to be possibly a spirit having its last visit before crossing over to the afterlife. So
that's nice.
Yeah, sometimes it can be very sweet. Sometimes not so much, depending on whom they're visiting. You know what I mean? But again, it also means that they're also thought to be fleeting and temporary, not necessarily consistently possessive of something or sticking around, unless that's how you build them or want them to be that way. But in Greek history, not so much. They are here for a message. They're here to do a thing. They have a mission. Once that mission is complete, they yeet. Right? Another visage of these things is that they don't actually take over a body or someone or something, but they're actually a spectral holographic version of somebody, much like a doppelganger or like a poltergeist turned doppelganger, basically. In fact, a common historical story is that Helen of Troy was actually an Eidolon dealing with the war while her physical body remained kidnapped somewhere else.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And anybody who knows the story of, Troy and Helena, or, what was his name? What was the guy? What was the man's name? That fell for her and caused the war over love. What was his name? Paris. Paris started war over the fact that he loved this potential spectral being. Take that.
It's not real.
It's not real.
But it was real to him.
Love is fake.
Oh,
Shut up. Love is fake. Fake news. Fake news. But anyways, that's kind of like how they are represented within Greek mythology. Not necessarily a negative being, super positive. Again, very fleeting messages, all that kind of good stuff. I would like to, sorry, I just realized a note that I wrote down here. I'm just going to say it for funsies because I feel like it's hilarious. I would like to blame every mental breakdown I have with my partners with my Eidolon did it.
It wasn't me.
It wasn't me. I was possessed.
It was my specter.
It was my spectral doppelganger. I feign innocence. I've done nothing wrong. All right, well, let's go over how this kind of fits in today's D&D 5th edition world of Eidolons. So, brass tacks, you can find them in the Mordenkainen's Monster Manual with a brief description. They are thought to be basically God created as protectors of sacred grounds or treasures. And remember that gods themselves within 5th edition can be good or evil, so depending on the belief system, these things can be good or they can be evil, just dependent, right? And I do feel this feeds nicely into the concept that the Greek ones weren't always evil. But the idea is that if an intruder sets foot into a sacred grounds or tampers with a sacred item that it's supposed to be protecting, these Eidolons will take over a sacred statue and utilize that physical body to run them off the ground or grounds that are sacred, or just destroy whoever the intrusion is coming from. But let's run down what an Eidolon looks like, stats-wise on its own. These are medium undead creatures of any alignment, very specifically writes it in the book. They have an AC of 9, a small hit point pool of 63, and they can't walk, but they have a hover/fly speed of 40. Below average in strength, dex, and con, but above average in intelligence, wisdom, and charisma with a +2, +4, and +3. But remember, they are spectral. These are basically ghosts, so that means that they have a fuck ton of resistances and immunities. They are resistant to acid, fire, lightning, thunder, bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing from non-magical weapons. They're immune to cold, necrotic, and poison, as well as being charmed, exhausted, frightened, grappled, paralyzed, petrified, poisoned, prone, and restrained.
Nice. Well done.
Don't touch me. They have dark vision and have a passive perception of 18. They know all languages that they knew in their life, and they basically, this all together makes them a wonderful CR of 12.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's beefy.
It sounds like a lot, but it's actually not a lot. Because you're basically fighting a ghost that you can't hit. But yeah, so it sounds like they have a lot, but they actually don't, because when you get into their actual abilities, they don't have a lot going for them. They have incorporeal movement, which we've talked about before with the undead and some of the more spectral ghosty ones. All this means is that they can basically walk through anything, but they will take force damage if they end their space occupying an object or a person.
Right.
They have turn resistance, so they have resistance against anything that turns undead. So again, fuck you, cleric. You're welcome. And the classic undead nature of just not needing air, food, drink, or sleep. And then for actions, all they have is what's called Divine Dread, which is Anyone within 60 feet of them that can see the Eidolon must make a wisdom save of 15 or be frightened. That's all they have. They can't attack you. They can't attack you, but what they can do, and where it gets fun, is what's called the sacred animation. So this is the part where they can move into an object and basically inhabit it and utilize what's called a sacred statue stat block and utilize that to attack someone.
Right, okay.
Yeah, so they are literally a ghost that's just hanging out, can't do shit. If you see it, it's going to scare you, but it can't hit you, it can't injure you, you can barely hit it. Unless you have something very special and very specific. And if you see it. Like, it's one of those things that just doesn't, you won't see it. It's a ghost, right? When it inhabits like a sacred statue, this is the stat block thus. They become a large construct. An AC bumps up to 19. Their HP jumps up to an average of 100. They now have a walking speed of 25, because let's just be real, they're a giant slow statue.
Yeah.
Their strength jumps up to +4, their constitution +4, and all other stats stay the same. So that means that their wisdom, intelligence, and charisma are still way above average. So it's not like some other undead creatures where we see sometimes their intelligence, their wisdom, and charisma drop because they've entered into something else or they've shifted. They maintain their intelligence and creativity and that kind of piece, but now they're just beefed up by being inside of a statue.
Okay.
Basically, they've adhered armor, essentially, is what's happened.
They're just like, they've, like, done some Transformer shit where they've just like
the Transformer noise just happened in my head.
Yes, it did. It's well done.
Totally.
I was gonna try and iterate it, but decided not to.
All other immunities and resistances remain the same, so you're still fighting something that you can barely hit, which fucking sucks. But they have added abilities now. So they have something called false appearance. So this is if the statue is motionless and you haven't noticed that it's there yet, it will get advantage on initiative rolls. And it has a DC save of 18 intelligence to even know if it's an ordinary object or not. So even if you see the ghost go into an object and disappear, it's a DC 18 save for you to know that it's done a thing.
You might just think it's gone.
Yep.
Oh, it disappeared.
It disappeared.
It's fine.
It's gone. This is cool. So,
or it was one of those, like, wispy things that you see in your peripherals, and you're like, was that actually a thing?
Yeah. So, fuck you, Dan. If you see this go into a statue, you don't know what it is, unless you roll a DC 18 intelligence saving throw. Mm-hmm. They also have what's called ghostly inhabitation. If the Eidolon statue drops to 0 hit points, or a dispel good and evil spell is used, the Eidolon is then ejected from the object and just appears 5 feet away. So
you can force it back out.
Yeah, by dropping it to 0 hit points or using the dispel good and evil spell specifically.
Okay. And would you think to do that?
I mean, if you were a wizard and you saw an animated statue, I mean, I would probably do dispel magic first, and if that didn't work, I'd be like, okay, well, fuck that, can't do anything. And then maybe if you're the DM, give them the grace of a roll, you know what I mean? But, and then on top of that, for attacks, it has a multi-attack with a slam or rock attacks. Get this, it's a +8 to hit with the slam with an average of 43 damage. You could do that twice.
Oh my god.
Here's the kicker, though. It's a 10-foot reach. Its rock attack is a 60-foot range attack with a +8 to hit with an average of 37 damage.
Okay, so it's just, it's whacking you over the head, like, with a stone hand and arm.
You're getting rocked by rocks.
And then, it's just gonna, like, crack off its hand and whip it at you. So, yeah, I get it, that it's that much damage. But
I understand.
Damn it.
Yeah.
Whew, okay.
Easy.
Yeah, because, you're basically turning into a giant rock statue and being like, I'm gonna hit stuff now. Yeah. So, yeah. And the worst part is that once you've killed it, like killed the statue itself, it just ejects itself, and it still has full health as an Eidolon.
Yeah.
So it could just, like, pop back into another statue.
Until you kill the Eidolon.
Until you kill it.
Or leave.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, the way I read it and the way it's structured in my brain is that their goal is to make you leave. They don't necessarily want to kill you.
Yeah, they just want to be left alone.
They're like, get out of the sacred space.
Yeah. They're sending a message, and the message is GTFO.
Get the fuck out. Yeah.
Totally.
Get out of my castle. And by my castle, I mean whoever made me's castle. Yeah. You bitch. All right, so this is the point where we're going to roll some dice. I rolled 16.
Boy. 2.
13. Okay, so I'm going to answer my own question first.
It'd be like that.
It'd be like that. All right, so the first question always that we like to consider is storylines. So any kind of quests, one-shots, campaigns, what kind of tier to run this in. I think that this can be run with a low-tiered group, should you choose to, because again, it's a warning sign. It teaches them that that you're probably going to face lethal things, right? But they might be smart enough to run away from it, or leave and find something stronger, or find a way to dispel it and then come back. Might is the operative word, but again, I feel like the actual thing itself is soft enough that it's beatable. Because again, even in its statue form, it only has about 100. So as long as you can hit it in some way, shape, or form, the only problem is that you can't hit it with non-magical means. So you at least have to be at the tier, like low tier 2 into tier 3, where you're giving your players magical items. Or at least one of them have a magical item. Yeah. Or this could be the folks in, like, maybe you're on a treasure hunt to find your magical MacGuffin item, and you get into, like, the treasure trove area, and it's protecting it, but your goal is to get to the treasure chest at the end of the room. So now you're fighting these statues while trying to get to the magical weapons that will eventually assist you in fighting the statues themselves. Yeah. However, the thing to remember is that these are created by gods. Yeah. If you kill them near a lower tiered party, it's going to kick off a longer storyline of now there's a god out here out to get you. There's a wrath
of God.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Because they're going to be like, I felt a ruffle.
Oh, and my feathers have ruffled. What's happening?
What has happened?
I feel flustered all of a sudden. Or what was it that I said during an Undead episode where if you shiver, it's because someone has stepped on your grave?
Yeah.
No one else understood that.
I always thought that it was if you shiver, it was because an angel flew over your grave.
Interesting.
That's how I always heard it, but...
No, I said like a physical being stepped on your future grave is how I understood it. Anyways, we've talked about that at length, because I find it, like, it's just weird learning those things that you grew up with, and be like, oh, shiver, and everyone's like, are you okay? I'm like, yeah, man, someone's just stepped on my grave, and they're like...
Yeah.
What? This would be the same thing. You'd be a god sitting there being like, oh, something's missing.
Yeah.
And then you'd be like, Kevin, I need to find out which one of my treasure troves has been broken into.
Yeah.
It must be on the mainland. I can feel it. Oh, man. So that's mine. So, Ellie, what are your thoughts on quests, one-shots, possible campaign, or tier to run in? What are your thoughts here?
As you were talking about it, I definitely thought very much the same thing, going after magical item, and that is essentially your puzzle. These are designed to send messages, to protect, they have a specific singular purpose, and I think that that's one of the great things about this is really the versatility of it.
Yeah.
You could throw these anywhere to absolutely screw with someone.
Yeah.
And watch them fluster.
Absolutely.
Watch your party be flustered and continuously
we like the trauma.
and continuously get more and more heated as it possesses more and more statues. Like, you think of like a hull of a suit of armors.
Yeah.
As it's just bouncing from one to another, or, a hull of statues or something along those lines, and as you just think that you've got it.
Yeah, it's like the Zelda dungeon thing.
Essentially, and it just keeps coming at you.
And, like, your spellcasters have popped off all their stuff, and they're like, yeah, because the statue crumbles. And then you walk by, and then you hear something behind you, and the next statue starts to move.
And this is closer to the end of your dungeon crawl as well, because you're closer to your objective of obtaining whatever treasure you want. And so you've already exhausted on some of the lower level, or some of the smaller battles that you've had as you're just absolutely slugging your way through this dungeon crawl.
And at what point do you run?
Right? At what point is it, tuck your tail and turn and be like, we're going to try this again, maybe 6 months.
I love it.
Yeah, exactly.
What about you, Casey?
Well, I always go to, like, information.
Yeah.
And this is one of the unique situations where these actually don't have, like, if you're looking for information from when they were alive, say, like we know that there's this group of Eidolons from, say, a massacre or something, and they have come and they are inhabiting this area. If you go in and try and get information from them, this is where they won't have any, because they basically leave behind, not by choice, really, of all of the stuff that they knew when they were alive. And their purpose is anything that they have decided is their purpose in death.
Yeah.
So, gotta go with trauma, right?
We love trauma.
We love the trauma.
Yeah.
Yeah, your family member, sibling, blah, 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 was part of this massacre, and you know that their Eidolon is in this region. You find it, and it has no acknowledgement. It knows you. It's not trying to fight you, because they're just, like, there. But then you walk and you pick up the thing that it has been told to protect, or whatever. Suddenly, you are fighting your like family member or whomever, maybe it was your master of training, whatever, and you have no choice, and you may use many a turn to try and convince them that no, you know me. Eidolons don't have that connection, at all. It's a lost cause.
No emotional.
And so that's like fun as a DM, traumatizing for a particular player character, and it might cause the combat to twist a little bit, because one might be convinced, no, I'm going to keep trying. It's like, it's a wasted effort, but you do what you're gonna do.
I also love the idea that you keep trying, the battle wages on, a party member in your team dies. You're on sacred ground. The person who dies now becomes an Eidolon, finds the next closest object.
Oh my god!
Inhabits that, and now not only you're fighting your family member and trying to, like, you're now fighting your party member.
Yeah,
and it will just keep doing that.
And they don't know any of you.
They're
cycle. Like, what the fuck, John?
Kevin!
And then they are just, like, glazed over, no, like, they have no connection to you whatsoever. It's like, we just...
we just talked about this.
So it could be a fun twist to do some mind fuckery with that in a storyline. Ultimately, though, the reason that you're coming down here is really not to get information from them, because it's futile. So it would be kind of cruel for a DM to do that, and then it's like, haha, you don't get anything.
You get nothing. No MacGuffins and you're all dead.
No, it's just,
Have a nice Friday night.
Trauma. Emotional damage, move on. Yeah, you gotta have some sort of reward like that. Like, there is a treasure, or there is something that comes out of it.
Yeah.
Some sort of story builder.
Yeah, exactly. Very true. All right, next point is talking about social aspects. So anywhere from, like, hints for role-playing, things like that. I feel like you kind of spoke to a little bit earlier, kind of what I wanted to say, of they aren't going to necessarily talk to you unless it is to tell you to get the fuck out.
Yeah.
Or, like, the most I think they will tell you is, like, in the name of whatever god has created them. So you might get some information about what kind of land you're on, or, like, they would have the basic information of what kind of temple you're in. It will know what it's protecting, so it'll be like, no, don't go after that, or don't touch this, or don't touch that, right? Like, it's... I think of the Cavern of Wonders. You have
touched the forbidden treasure.
Yes, you just hear that boom in your head, and that's just the one thing the Eidolon has been trained to say in multiple languages or something like that.
Must protect.
Must protect. You constantly hear that, and that's going to be the hint that that's something. This is the kind of thing that you're dealing with. Yeah. Because anyone who does play D&D and who has ever researched these things will know that it has one purpose and one purpose only, and that's to protect whatever it's protecting. Yeah. Role-playing is going to be tough as a DM, and I think the hints aspect is going to be like, there's going to be a hell of a lot of statues around. And there's going to be a hell of a lot of broken statues around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you're walking through a dungeon, you might notice that the first couple of rooms you go into, all the statues are broken.
Yeah.
But then the first room you go into, there's a statue, so there's one statue out of 5.
Just a single statue.
And that statue comes to life and you destroy it and you're like, huh, interesting. And you go into the next room and all 6 statues exist.
Yeah.
Right. And you're like, oh, they didn't make it this far.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Ellie, what about you? Anything to add?
I would just say, like, building off of that, it might also be a really good tool to use if you have a party that is fumbling to try and pick up the hints that you're trying to drop. Mm-hmm. You're trying to lead them in a specific direction. To further the plot, you want them, as a DM, to be able to get these magical items, to be able to do this. Yeah. They're not picking up what you've been putting down for the last couple of, last couple of episodes, things like that. Okay, let's kind of throw this on them. They're specifically designed to protect this one thing. They might actually pick it up now. Yeah. That they're like, oh, this is really being heavily protected. Maybe this
This might be a MacGuffin.
This might be a thing. So it could also be like, you could use it for those things of trauma, but you could also use it as guiding your party along so that they're actually progressing the plot and achieving those objectives.
Right.
Yeah.
Because could you use them... Okay, yes, I'm building off of you in a bit of a twist.
Yeah.
So say you've been told you need to find we'll say the ghost. Like, it's just being basic. You find the ghost with the something, like a brooch that's a certain shape, or an emblem. Because I believe if they're like a corporeal version of... Is that the right word? Of themselves. Incorporeal? No.
It would be a corporeal is you can touch it, you can feel it.
Okay, no. So, like, the ghost version.
An incorporeal, the spectral version. It's version incorporeal.
Okay.
It's a ghost, Casey.
Try to be too technical. We're going basic.
Yeah.
Say you need to navigate through this dungeon, this crypt, whatever, to actually trigger this specific ghost, and it has to have this certain symbol, and it will lead you where you need to go. And so, not necessarily having ill will to attack if you, like it's trying to protect no one gets it, but it has to be a specific person or a specific thing that goes to get it.
To meet its criteria.
And so it has met and been like, not hello, but it's like you are not the people that I'm supposed to lead, and it just fades away. And then it shows up because everyone gets to a certain point and triggers it, and it comes out. And then when you see the right symbol, there's something you do that then it goes, and then it just moves. And this is where I'm going to Lego Harry Potter. Have you guys played Lego Harry Potter?
I played Lego games, and I think I know where you're going with this.
You follow the spectral thing once you've achieved something.
Think Legend of Zelda in the well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so
yeah.
it's like you have triggered the right things, you see the right ghost, and it's like, and then it just turns and doesn't attack you, and you follow it through, and it actually is the only one that can take you through the right
and
direction.
There's traps and things you're like popping off as you're running.
Going through like a labyrinth.
So it's maybe a spin-off of the not necessarily just attack when triggered or attack when you get too close to the thing it's protecting, but a way that's like, only the,
chosen.
The chosen, yes. The chosen who know the right thing or whatever, then get led through. The party happens to have that person.
Well, that's the thing. It's like, if we think about it, because you compared it to Lego Harry Potter.
Yeah.
We compared it to Zelda, which in the well, you meet the ghost and you chase it through the thing to get the weapon and the MacGuffin. But you can only see it with a very specific item.
Yes.
So what if you have to be a very specific faith? Like, let's say your cleric or your paladin is the only one that can see it.
Yeah, you're following that specific god who has created this Eidolon.
Yeah, so now, not only are you running through all of these traps, you have to keep this person alive because they're the only one that can see them.
Yeah.
You're following the paladin.
They've received some sort of blessing from their god.
Yeah.
Or it could be like when you were talking about like the brooch and things like that, I was thinking like
a symbol or something.
Or like the god has they have gone to the temple, they have communed with, that god. The god has given them a token of their own and said this is where you need to go. You will know when you find it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you're led through. Absolutely.
Amazing.
So cool.
I like it.
Yeah.
That being said, next section is the impact that it could potentially have on the environment. So thinking of exploration, environments, evidence, loot, clues. So I spoke a little bit about how you'd see the statues being broken as you're going through. Yeah. And all the weapons and stuff will be missing as you're going through a dungeon, obviously. The only other thing I can really think of is, you might actually hear about them, right? Like you're in the town or the city that's at the base of the mountain, the temple's at the top of the mountain. And you hear about mysteries of no one's really ever gotten to the center of the temple because there's these weird beings that possess the items and statues. They just tell you about them.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean you're going to learn how to handle them.
Yeah.
Right.
But at least you're going to kind of have a clue or a hint of what you're coming across. So if you know you're coming across ghosts, you're going to have to figure out how to hit a ghost.
Well, and is your brain immediately going to go Eidolon?
No.
Or is it going to go Wraith or Spectre or something that is a little bit
Demonia.
more commonly known? Like, you hear hoofs, you think horses, not zebras.
Yeah.
That's fair.
You know, so you're not really quite going to know what you're going to be walking into as well.
Yeah. No, I hear you. But Ellie, on that note, anything else to add?
No.
We've been pretty adventurous so far with these things.
Yeah, especially like when we're talking about the sacred statue, if we're sticking with statues, that's the perfect indicator.
Yeah.
Is broken statues. The further you get, you start to see non-broken statues.
Yeah.
And probably the party won't even really pick up on it until it's too late, or then after the fact, like, oh,
Well, and it's one of those
why.
things that has like flavor if someone in your party rolls a high enough perception as they're going through, you might note kind of in the first couple of 2 rooms, there's 1 or 2 broken statues, and they're just going to think that it's, kind of one of those, it's part of the ambiance of, the area that they're in and things like that. And as they're going further and further in, they're noticing more and more broken statues. And then all of a sudden there's, they walk into that room with the 4 or 5 broken statues and there's a single one standing there and they're like, oh, that's weird. Like
out of place.
Yeah, out of place. And so would it be one of those, they know that they're searching for something particular and they're thinking, oh, maybe it's hidden in one of these statues and people have started and they found something in like the 5th statue and they didn't try it. Let's try the 6th statue.
Totally.
Let's try and attack, let's try and crumble that 6th statue or something like that. And then it attacks back.
Yeah, totally. And if your party figures it out early enough, like what if, I don't know, the cleric or something figures out what's going on and it just tells the barbarian, like, go at it.
That was going to be my combat strategy.
Every fucking statue we come across until we find the inhabitant or whatever. And so then the barbarian just goes and smashes and then suddenly one's like stops the smash and
he is just having the best day of his life.
Yeah. No, and like, because I was going to be out what I put on it because the next section is combat and strategies. And it's same kind of thing. Like if you find out that you're fighting one of these things, even mid-combat, it would be the cleric turning to the barbarian being like, no, crush every statue here. However, these things can inhabit, in my mind, any object.
Yeah.
So now all of your weapons are at risk. Anything that you were wearing on your body is at risk. You are at risk because you've now destroyed all of these statues. You were at risk. So it's almost like, yes, the smart thing to do would be destroy all the statues so there's nowhere to go. However, now you have put your cleric at risk. You have put your paladin at risk.
I have watched this horror movie.
I know. It is the horror movies of all horror movies.
Oh my god.
Because then all of a sudden, yes, the statues are destroyed. And it'll go, great, all we have to do is kill this one statue and it's gone. Statue falls. This thing gets pushed out, like yeeted out like it normally would. It's still alive and has nowhere to go.
Yeah.
It is going to find the strongest one in the room.
Yes. Okay, that show with Denzel Washington. It's so old and it has that song in it. Time is on my side. Yes, it is.
I don't know.
Oh my gosh. Okay, that is the most fucked up. That is exactly what happens.
Hold on here. Let me look it up. Denzel Washington?
Yes. I don't know.
That's
it's
a
like
callback.
20 years.
Fallen?
Sure.
The movie Fallen.
Yes, it is. Yes.
1998.
Oh my god. Okay, I dated myself, but it's fine.
Not a day over 21, Casey. You're fine.
Yes, that's what happens in that movie. There's this thing, this spirit, this thing that goes into people, controls them, and if you kill them, it just pops out and moves to the next one. And so, spoiler, it's 1998. In the end, they pull it to the middle of nowhere to be like, okay, and then I'm going to kill myself, and it will have nothing to inhabit, and it goes in a fucking squirrel.
Dope.
So it's not there. And the indicator of who's it's inhabiting is they start singing that song. And so they bounce from different people, and then the people start singing that song.
Oh, I hate it.
Oh my god, you guys should watch it.
Holy shit, guys.
It's a good show. Okay, sorry, that was a big tangent.
That's okay. That does fit most combat strategies. Either of you have anything to add for combat strategies for this one?
feel like I've said enough.
I feel like we ripped this one to like to shreds and smithereens.
We
So
got it.
Yeah, it looks like we're going to be moving on to a couple of different versions of Eidolons.
Yes, okay, so we are diving into the mythic Odysseys.
Odysseys.
Odysseys?
Odysseus.
The mythic Odysseys of Theros book.
Yeah.
Heavy in this section I want to dive into.
Well, it makes sense. We're talking about Greek history a little bit, right?
Yeah.
So,
this is the book. So in Undead episode number 10, we did deep dive into The Returned. So if you haven't listened to that, I highly recommend. But as a refresher, the Returned are creatures that have escaped the underworld and dwell among the living, but in doing so lose their face and lose their identity as a result of having followed the path of Phoenix. So they wear golden masks. That's a very clear indicator of that they are the Returned. Mm-hmm. And they cannot form long-term memories or meaningful relationships. And their identities manifest separately into Eidolons. And so the Returned are just the being, and their identity is the Eidolon. They are spirit-like and retain some skills and knowledge from their past lives, but really don't look back, only forwards into what their undead life becomes. They aren't interested in finding their old self. They're not interested in finding the Returned, their old body. Mm-hmm. Living relationships either. And like the Returned, they just exist, but choose to wander aimlessly. Where the Returned want to actually connect, they just can't because they have no capability of having memory.
Fair.
Too sad.
Mm-hmm. Too bad, so sad.
Yeah, so that's the specific Eidolon descriptor in the Theros book. Mm-hmm. And specifically, there is the Flitterstep Eidolon. And so this is the most common Eidolon, and simply, perhaps tragically, they wander without purpose, like the Returned. Mm-hmm. So into the stat block of a Flitterstep Eidolon is medium undead, can be any alignment. So they're very, very similar to the classic Eidolon that you described, Megan. Mm-hmm. They have an AC of 14. Hit point average is only 44. They have a speed of 40 feet. So I feel like that's because they probably like float. They
have a float speed, yeah.
They flitter. They flitter. Right?
Yeah.
So it's maybe a rare time where a medium creature moves faster than the average player character. But these are a CR of 3. Like, they're just existing there. They're really basic.
Mm-hmm. Basic bitches.
Yeah. When it comes to abilities, it's quite a range. Starting at the lowest, they have a -1 to strength, and then +0 to charisma and intelligence, +1 to con and wisdom, and then a whopping +4 to dex. So it really is indicative to their nature in that they don't want to be in combat. They want to evade. They want to be stealthy. Going into skills, they have a +8 to stealth. They do not want to interact with you. Mm-hmm. They just want to move about and be unknown. They also have a +3 to perception. They have a pretty good list of damage resistances, not quite as good as yours earlier, but they have damage resistance to necrotic, bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing from non-magical attacks. Yep. Damage immunity to poison. Condition immunities including charmed, exhaustion, frightened, grappled, paralyzed, petrified, poisoned, and restrained. They're slippery motherfuckers.
Yeah, anything physical.
Like if you try and get at them, they're just gonna and be gone.
Yeah.
They have a passive perception of 13, and they know the languages they knew in life. So if we get into their abilities, again, very similar to what you described already. One, they have blurred form, which means attack rolls against the Eidolons are made with disadvantage unless it is incapacitated. Mm-hmm. It has evasion, which if you have a rogue in your party, you know this ability. it means it can make a dex save and only take half damage on a fail and no damage on a success. So it also can't use this if it's incapacitated. It has incorporeal movement. Like ghosts, it can move through other creatures and objects. They are considered difficult terrain for them, but it will take 1d10 force damage if it ends its turn inside an object. And I know ghosts also do some wild, like, stat damage. This doesn't do that. It's just, they just can move through you.
Okay.
They have turn resistance, where it has advantage on saving throws against any effect that turns undead. This is, I think, across the board for Eidolons.
Yep.
And undead nature as well, where the Eidolon does not require air, food, drink, or sleep. So it does have a few actions that are for attack. It has the Flickering Dagger. This is a melee weapon attack, +6 to hit, 5-foot reach, 1 target. It deals 1d4 + 4 piercing damage plus 1d6 psychic damage on a hit. It has Flitterstep, which has a recharge of 5 to 6. It's Misty Step. The Eidolon can teleport to an unoccupied space. It can see within 30 feet of it. If it attacks after it flitter steps, the attack has advantage because it's like surprise, like poof, you show up and you slash. Or dagger.
Stab, stab.
Stabby stab. It also does have multi-attack, so it can use its Flickering Dagger in 2 attacks, and it can use Flitter Step before or after one of its attacks. So it can kind of stabby stab and stabby stab someone else.
Yeah.
So it has a bit more. It's all dex. It's a rogue. It's
a ghost rogue.
A ghost rogue.
Yeah.
It's a ghost rogue with pixie dust.
Yeah.
Flitters.
like Flitter Step just makes it sound so kind of lovely.
When you said Flitter Step instead of Misty Step, it just poofs into like some sparkles.
It does. Yes.
Oh my
God. And
God.
that's the extent of it. Like, it's not a high CR, but it could shock you, and it really will not attack you till like it has to. It will be like, leave me alone, please.
Don't touch me.
And then, but if it does, it's got a decent, like, multi-attack always makes things more dangerous.
Yeah. That's fair.
That's where we at.
All right. You've got another one?
Yeah, so the other one that is outlined in Odysseys of Theros as well is the Ghostblade Eidolon. So a lot of similarities from your basic Eidolon and your Flitterstep Eidolon, but it's a little bit beefier. Ghostblade Eidolons, they are the identity of souls essentially trying to breach the underworld. They're often those of fallen warriors. So they're a little bit more kind of in line with what Megan was talking about from kind of ancient Greece of they're to send a message, but they're the warriors essentially.
Endless battle, like
endless, yeah. Like, so that's exactly So you know, similar to other Eidolons, Ghostblades are drawn to areas with significance to them, either in life or death.
Ooh, okay.
And because of these, their identities of fallen warriors, they are often drawn to battlefields and endless war. So they're a little bit of a tortured soul in that sense.
Trauma.
Building on that trauma.
Bring on
Yeah,
the trauma.
so Ghostblade Eidolons, their stat block, again, they are medium undead. They can be any alignment. They have an armor class of 12. They have hit points. They have 55 hit points. And they do only have a speed of 30, so a little bit slower than the Flittersteps. Their stats, they have a constitution, intelligence, and wisdom of +1. Their charisma and dex is +2, and they have a strength of 3.
Okay.
So really kind of leaning more into that fighter style.
Or at least above average.
Or at least above, at least above average on everything. Their skills, they've got a +5 to acrobatics, and they've got a +6 to athletics. And they have a +4 in perception. So
They're
very
gonna stand in your
battlefield.
way.
They really are going to stand in your way. They have the same damage resistance as regular Eidolons and Flittersteps, so necrotic, bludgeoning, piercing, slashing from all non-magical items, or all non-magical attacks, I should say. They are immune to poison, and their condition immunities are the same: charmed, exhaustion, frightened, grappled, paralyzed, petrified, poisoned, and restrained. They have a passive perception of 14. They do not know all the languages that they knew in life, and they are a CR of 5, so they are a bit buffier.
Yeah, just a little bit harder to kill.
Yeah. Like Flitterstep as well, they do have blurred form, incorporeal movement, and turn resistant. So Ghostblade Eidolon's actions, they have a Ghostblade, so that's their melee weapon attack. It is a +6 to hit with a 5-foot reach against one target. It's 8 points slashing damage plus 11 points force damage on that bad boy.
Force damage, man.
And they do also have multi-attack, so they can hit you twice with that.
Oh. What's the average damage, sorry, on that one?
Average damage, so it's 8 points plus 11, 8 points slashing and 11 force.
Have fun.
So they're going to hit you with 19 points of bad news.
Great, we love that. We love that about them.
Yeah, that's the reason one of the reasons that they're a higher challenge rating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, neat.
Yeah.
Cool. Is that them?
That's them. That's them.
All
Short
right.
and sweet.
All right, ladies, let's roll some dice and talk about these variant Eidolons. Choose your weapon.
Ooh, almost a roll off.
Who got the 20?
I got the 20.
You got the 20.
Yeah.
All right, so Casey's first, I'm going second, and then Ellie is coming in last. Coming in hot. All right, so let's talk about storyline possibilities. This includes anything from quests, one-shot ideas, campaigns. What tier do you think you'd run them in? Any of those ideas. So, Casey, you can start us off.
Neither of these are going to have any information for you, but they're going to... Okay, Flittersteps. They're going to be the annoying little fairy thing.
Like a pixie thing.
There's us, they're a
Anyway.
pixie.
Yeah.
They are the thing that are going to engage but not engage.
Yeah.
They're going to float around in the background. You're going to notice them out of the corner of your eye. Maybe you're going to catch one of them and then get into combat. And they can do decent damage, but that's not their objective. They're inhabiting an area for whatever reason. It might not even be instructed. They just felt like not going anywhere else.
Fair enough.
So they're there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it could be an entertaining introduction to ghosts or things to the campaign if you haven't done that before, because they're a low challenge rating. That could be helpful. And it could be something that, like, I always like being on the road.
I know you do, baby.
I like the encounters, the random, anything could happen. So I feel like this could also be one of those. It's like, oh, this is like, it looks like it used to be maybe an abandoned village. There's maybe some like weird, like a weird cemetery. You could see there's a bunch of graves around the back. And then you go through there, you see some weird flitterings.
Yeah.
And then you walk further and you get to a open field. Say there's like a hill and then a vantage point. Probably perfect for, a battle that might have happened 1,000 years ago. And you traverse through because that's where the trail goes. And then you start to notice there's more intrusive beings or spirits or ghosts.
It's almost like their job is to like wispy, like the will-o-wisps to guide you into the forest,
right?
Like away from your party or whatever, because you're just following this weird, pretty sparkly thing,
right?
Yeah,
I feel like that is the extent of the Flitterstep, and then if you go directly into the fray of where the Ghostblades are around, they're gonna be like, oh, yes.
Yeah.
Because they are looking for that combat.
Yeah.
They're looking for, it's like, oh, we have a new battle. Like, I feel like they would, like, the DM could have a lot on their side, just having fun with it, because they'd be like, line up, like, marching.
Yeah.
And,
marching
like, they
order.
would line up and then wait for the wave to attack them walking up. Surprise attacks.
Amazing.
That's where I'm going with that on
Love
storyline.
I was thinking along the lines of, because we love a good wizard's tower.
Yeah.
And I was thinking along the lines of the base of it, like a necromancy wizard's tower. There's just miles and miles of desolate, desecrated land. Mm-hmm. And everyone just thinks it's empty and, like, there's nothing there. But, like, the wizard specifically chose this place because that desecrated ground is an old battlefield where there are hundreds and thousands of these things just flipping and floating about. And to get to the wizard's tower, your first challenge is to cross over these lands. Yeah. And figure out how to get across them. Yeah. And, like, it can be, like, you know that they're there, you know that exists, or what have you, or you just happenstance across it because you're going in between towns, and your team decided to go left instead of right. Like, you can throw something like that in there. Even if not a wizard's tower, like an old witch's hut. Yeah. Like a hag's hut sitting somewhere.
Anything that's just a little bit unnerving, like, not necessarily gravely evil, just like, we avoid that area because so-and-so.
Yeah, we don't talk about this area.
Gives a funky feeling.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. What about you, Ellie? Any other thoughts?
It was really, I mean, with the Ghostblade Eidolons, it's really that battleground, and it's really, they're drawn to the battle and things like that, but it's almost like they have unfinished business as well.
And it could be where any battle occurred.
It could be. It could be. A big thing that came to mind as I was reading about the Ghostblade Eidolons is in Lord of the Rings at the very end. With the ghost army.
Under the mountain?
Under the mountain.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that really kind of was like you.
I feel like we've talked about them
you
before.
You were battling a army of undead.
Yeah.
You really are, whose sole purpose is to protect and not let you get what you need to get.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Love it. Next point is social. So hints or any role-playing tips and tricks for DMs.
Yeah, the Flitterstep, pretty easy. They're going to be in your peripherals. So they're...
Your rogues, yeah.
Yeah. They're gonna be there. If one of the players rolls really high on perception, you're gonna describe, like, you see... you know, something wispy. Something's there, but you can't catch a full view of it.
Yeah, for a split second you saw a physical being and it's gone behind a tree.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The Ghostblades, I feel like they are going to be a bit more upfront, where you are going to be surprise attacked by them. Yeah. You're going to stroll in and not realize they're there until they're attacking you, I think. In terms of role-playing them, though, like, yeah, the Ghostblade might have a little more context and you can try and interact with them more, but the Flittersteps are going to be really annoying. Yeah. They're just going to be like, we don't know why we're here. This is just where we are. We are here. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's like, don't hit us. We don't want you here.
Yeah, I feel like if you're going to think about it in like brass tacks, if you're going to be role-playing with the Flittersteps, play them like a rogue. If you're going to be playing the Ghostblades, play them like a barbarian.
Play them like a barbarian or a fighter.
Or something along those lines, right? Like, that's just how, as a DM, you're
tactic.
Yeah, and you're going to be like, oh, I want to fight. Where if you're the wispy ones, you're going to be like, no, I just kind of want to move around and be like,
I want to annoy them.
Do I get my sneak attack, every 2 seconds? Like, shut up, rogues.
Yeah. Oh my god. It's real.
Well, what about you, Ellie? Anything you want to add to that?
Having an army of Ghostblade Eidolons would definitely be a really good crescendo to the end of an arc as well.
Yep.
Throwing that out there where, your party is thinking that they've made it, they're done, they're on their last, they're on the last little bit that they've got to go. And then, wham!
Here's a giant army.
Here's a giant army. It doesn't even need to be a giant army. Here's 10. Yeah. Here's 10 of them. Here's 10 of them
that are just standing in your way.
And they're just a wall. They're just standing in a they're just standing because they are there to guard.
Yeah.
They're there to guard.
Yeah, and I also like the idea of going back to the fact that the original version of Eidolon would be it's good or bad.
Yeah.
So you could be coming across the ghost army of, like, a god of light.
Yeah.
Or something along those lines. Like, it's an actual, it's a crusade.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. Like a positive, I say that in air quotes.
Yeah.
Crusade of, and they're not dark looking, they're not dingy or scary looking, like, they're just, incorporeal.
Yeah.
Beings, right?
And, I mean, because they can be any alignment, it's one of those things that could you shape it in a way that your party learns how to use them to their advantage.
Yeah.
You know,
do they decide to talk, or do they just...
Do they listen to your cleric?
Do they listen to your cleric? Do they listen? But do you realize, like, you know, do you have really trigger happy, you know, do you have a really trigger happy party that you know that they might go in there, metaphorically, guns blazing, and they're going to try and engage in combat with these, but the trick is they're set up for Big Bad Evil because Big Bad Evil, they died because of Big Bad Evil. They were the last army that were marching against Big Bad Evil. And the whole trick is realizing you can flip this around. These are your allies.
Yeah.
And you're now bringing in an army of Ghostblade Eidolons into battle with you because you realize that you have the same objectives.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh. Say, by the time you encounter these, you have a few NPCs in your group, which you do, and you don't realize that some of them are fucking evil.
Yeah.
And they target them, and they're like, I'm sorry, what?
Yeah.
And then that's your reveal,
And
is
then
that
that's
they are like,
plot
how can we ally with you when you have them? And it's like someone who follows the god that massacred them, or whatever.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Good shit.
Big reveal moment potential.
All about those big final scenes.
Those dramatic moments.
Yeah.
All right, final thing is strategy. So combat tactics, allies in battle, which we kind of touched on a couple of those ideas. But any kind of like any other weapons that interest you or attacks that interest you?
Yeah, like I think the Flitterstep Eidolon has been given the dagger for a specific reason, where it might actually get a few rounds in before you even see it, because it will just do its use its flickering dagger and use Flitterstep, and like as a DM you can be like you roll for an attack, and then a player, it's like, yeah, that hits, okay, you take piercing and psychic damage, and then it's like, oh, you over here, like, does, 18 hit? Yes, it does. Okay, you take piercing and psychic damage, and then nothing's there.
Yeah.
So that could be really fun to play with,
really fun.
because then it's like, and then the players are like, what the fuck is attacking us? And it's just like floating around doing its thing.
Yeah.
That would be the funnest part of the Flitterstep, of course.
Yeah, I feel like you can use a Flitterstep for more like battlefield manipulation, right? Like, because you're not going to be able to find out where it is. You're going to be constantly fighting this, like, non-physical seeing being, and half your shit's not going to work on it. And, like, when earlier we kind of, like, we didn't really touch on, like, what level of, like, team you would play with these. In my mind, it depends on how many you throw at them.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right?
You can scale it.
I think
if you're just fighting one, sure, you can probably get it to run away after you've hit it once or twice, so then you don't ever have to see it again and you're done. But if you have, like, 10 or 15 of these surrounding you, like, what a fucking shit show that's going to be. You're constantly getting stabbed from left and right, and all of a sudden there's nothing there, and then if you throw in the ghost blades, you've got these just massacred looking ghosts that just want to murder you, right?
Yeah.
Like, it can actually get pretty frightening, depending on how well you scale it as a DM.
Yeah.
Like, are you using them to scare your group when you go into battle with them? Or are you using them to, like, be guides, to your point? And I think that scaling that number is what's going to kind of determine what that looks like.
Yeah. Yeah.
So even if you do kill the one, now you get to learn what it is, and then you'll be like, oh, well, there might be more of them around. Maybe next time we actually talk to it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So it allows them to fuck up once, but if you fucked up once and you decide to fuck around and find out.
Yeah.
But what about you, Ellie? Any final thoughts on those ones?
No. I think you guys very much summed it up.
Fuck around, find out.
Fuck around and find out. It really is based off of that scalability of these guys and how many you want to throw out your players.
Yeah.
What is the context in which they're finding these, that they're encountering them.
Who they're following.
Yeah. There's so many variables, and I think that's really what is so great about this specific creature, is that they're a really good puzzle piece that fits into anything. So if you're looking for something like their versatility, this would be a really good thing to kind of plug and play and just kind of hit your party with something a little bit different.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've covered a lot of undead thus far, and lots of them kind of come up in very specific scenarios. This really is one that could be good or evil, and
Put anywhere.
Yeah, you could pop it in. You could use it as the intro to welcome to like creatures that are undead to your party, and you can go in a lower level or you can hit them a little higher.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah, beginning at the beginning of your story arch or end of your story arch, they just plug in anywhere.
You mean arc?
Arc. Story arc. Arch. Arc.
Arc.
I always thought of it like as an arch. Like you go, it's a nice arch. Story arc.
An arc is also that.
Yeah, it is.
Internet, arc or arch? You be the judge.
Tomato.
It's my favorite thing to do is piss off the internet. Still is.
So, on a scale of 1 to 10 haunted items, how would you rank these creatures as part of the undead landscape in D&D 5th edition?
So, to describe to you what we do with these, is it makes no sense.
Oh, this is the rating system, yes!
We just give it a 1 to 10 on haunted items based on the ones we talked about today. We barely take in consideration what we've talked about previously.
Yes.
Well, no, this is just specifically what we talked about. Okay, so Eidolons.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, Eidolons were the CR12.
The CR12 because they can put into statues and then hit you for like 50 points of damage.
Yeah, but
you can't really kill them.
Right, and the sacred statue is separate though.
Yes, it's its own stat block.
Okay.
So the Eidolons on their own, impossible to hit.
Yeah.
But very low hit points. And
so it's so this is where the skit, it's like, how do you perceive this?
Yeah,
like, as threatening,
so sometimes it's
terrifying?
am I personally afraid of it?
Yeah.
Would my character be afraid of it? Like, it's whatever you feel in the moment of how you want to rate this. So Casey, you're first. Regular Eidolons.
I am not necessarily terrified of them, so I'm going to rate them 3.
The 3?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to give them like a 4 or 5. Because same kind of jam, where I'm just like, I'm not personally afraid of them. I feel like there's never an instance in my life where I would come across one. Mm-hmm. I don't tend to go to sacred ground on a regular basis. Even in my character, like I think about my characters in D&D too.
Right.
I'm like, they would not necessarily be afraid of them. Mm-hmm. I tend to play religious characters. I feel like they would be safe.
And, like, you wouldn't go in there, like, typically in the characters that you played too, like, go in attacking right away.
Typically.
So,
Adam would disagree with my current character, but yes, typically.
Yes.
Yeah. What about you, Ellie?
So, I was leaning more towards a 4 on just kind of interaction with them and dealing with them if I have to fight them.
Yeah.
Characters' thoughts, feelings on it type thing. I would rate it like a 7 on an annoyance scale, though.
That's true. Can't kill it.
That is fair.
You know, can't kill it. Like, I feel like I very much play those types of characters.
You're a murder hobo?
She murders, but not in a hobo-like way.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I am like a very chaotic good, I will murder you because you piss me off, kind of. And I feel like this would piss me off to a point, and the fact that I wouldn't be able to kill it would just...
So you would, like, double down and then triple down.
You know, it would just be one of those... it would just be one of those things that it was like, it was a strength of wills, or a battle of wills between myself and the Eidolon. So a 7 on an annoyance scale, but I mean, overall, comparative to everything, a 4.
Okay.
Fair enough. Okay. Next.
Flitterstep Eidolons.
The Flittersteps.
The Flittersteps.
Oh, man.
Okay, I know my answer.
They're cute, too.
Yeah, I know my answer.
They're lower than
you give them a cute 2?
Yeah.
Cute 2. Oh, I gave them a 10 on the annoyance.
Yeah.
If we're
fuck
doing
these.
If we're doing an annoyance scale
on the side, they would be.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Like, get bent. As soon as you stab me and run away, you're a 10 in my books. Like, fucking...
They're an incorporeal pixie. They are going to annoy the crap out of you.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. They're a 10 on the annoyance. They're a cute 2. I definitely agree with that.
A sparkly 2.
A sparkly. With a little Flitterstep glitter behind them.
Right? Yeah, like, highest perception roll ever, and the DM goes, you see a little sparkle.
You see sparkles.
And it's like, fuck you.
Fuck you.
Yeah.
And your fucking sparkles. What's next?
Ghostblade Eidolons.
Okay. So they're getting a bit they're getting a bit aggressive. They want to fight. So I'm going to put them at 7.
I was going to say 6, but more on the lines of, like, I'm a little bit more afraid of them. But also, like, from a DM perspective, they have a little bit more to them where, like, it's the tragic backstory that draws me in. So it's almost like a 6 on a likability scale. Sorry, Adam.
In his, like, mass chart of all of these
ratings.
scales, he's going to be like, new line.
That's
annoying scale. New line. Likability.
And honestly, that's a great thing to point out to people, because there was an episode where I called it out saying, hey, I wonder if anybody's keeping track of this. And immediately I got a message from Ada being like, bold of you to assume I am not already, and sent me the Excel doc. And I was like, oh, fantastic.
I would tend to agree. I was floating around like a 6 and a 7 on kind of just your general scale.
Yeah, if you're fighting 100 of these, like a 10. If you're fighting
absolutely.
2 of them, 5, 6.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think it really does draw back to that scalability and what scenario you're really encountering these in. Would I want to fuck around and find out with one of these? Probably not.
No.
It
should be a fuck around and find out scale.
But if I was playing
New line.
Fuck around
and find out scale, that would be a hard 0 on the fuck around and find out. Do not want.
Hard pass.
But I mean, if I ever played a character that had a high enough intelligence to be like, hold up, can we use this to our advantage?
Yeah.
You know, it's one of those, like,
Allies,
I would definitely,
incredible.
on an ally scale.
Would I use this as an ally scale?
Yeah.
New line.
Like, if you're Aragorn going under the mountain because this is your only fucking hope
Exactly.
of winning this war.
Exactly. You're
amazing.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, dear.
Exactly. So, last but not least, sacred statues.
Okay, the sacred statue, in combo, in that it can poof to a new statue and do all of that, fucking 10. Like, if you're in a room of statues or multiple rooms of statues, and, like, what if there's a sea of statues and then there's this stupid little shiny thing that you have to fucking get to at the end? You're fucked.
Like you're walking into a room of, like, the terracotta soldiers.
Oh my
like,
god,
you
get
know.
bent.
And so we only talked about if there was one, like, Ehlwyn that just keeps bouncing. Yeah. What if there's a dozen of them?
Yeah.
So you see a dozen statues moving at one time.
Yeah.
And then you kill 5, or someone does this massive bomb blow up and destroys this whole area of them. And then the next ones that are the closest
5 more statues stand.
Like,
Yeah.
it's just like, it's relentless, and it's what fucks around with humans' minds too, when you can't destroy something and you can't run away from them.
Yeah, it's a
10.
It's a 10 on the get bent scale.
New line, get bent.
Get bent.
Adam's removing his glasses at this point.
Setting his eyes. Doing one of these. Oh, man. All right, well, with that, now it is time to close the crypt on this part of our conversation on the Undead in D&D 5th edition. Stay tuned next time when we rise up to haunt you again with even more terrors from beyond the grave, including different kinds of spirits with a purpose from other campaign settings.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the It's a Mimic podcast. If you'd like to support us, we have a donate button on our website, www.itsamimic.com. And if you'd like to discuss what you've heard here today, you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and at r/itsamimic. For other episodes on other kinds of monsters, you can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Thanks again for listening to It's a Mimic, where you never know what you're going to get, and welcome to Ellie.
Yeah. Welcome to the shit show.
Totally. There was one time, so the thing is, there was one time where there was an episode where Adam was like, okay, I don't know what it is, but there's this bonking sound constantly through the episode, and I can't edit around it, so, like, you'll have to figure what it is. And I'm like, it's our wine.
The wine cups.
That's how often we're drinking.
Unfortunate, yeah.
Oops.
She gets it from reading all of her smut on her Kindle.
Oh, yeah. I listen to smut.
I do. I do.
Both
as well.
of you listen to smut.
Get Kindle Unlimited and then do Amazon Matchmaker, and you get ebooks for like $7.
There you go, Adam. There's your information.
Oh, are you recording?
100%.
Oh, shit.
It's okay.
Oh, this all goes in the outtakes.
Smut for cheap.
Smut for cheap. How would...
Or...
So, Eidolon. Eidolon?
Eidolons.
Eidolon. This is going to be hard.
Oh, God.
Can we call them Eidies? I'm kidding. All right.
I just got...
Eidies. God damn it, Casey. All right. Are we ready to try and start? Do you need any questions, thoughts, feelings, emotions before we do this, Ellie?
I felt like my one little blurb of shit that I was able to find on Ghostblade Eidolons. That was about it.
That's all you need. Yeah. That's what you're here for. All right. We're going to give a moment of silence to Adam. I'm going to do it with the mute button so it's 100% quiet. Essentially, if you fight one of these. Because here's where it gets a little... Boops. Can you turn the beeps and the boops off?
Megan's thrown.
Absolutely.
Excuse me.
Miss Ma'am, is it your first day?
Apparently. What a noob.
It's okay, I'm pretty sure I left the vibrate on my phone. Let's start again.
From the top.
No, the whole beginning. The whole thing has to be redone.
Oh, God.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. Oh, sorry for the knuckle crack, guys. I'm missing dice. Give me a hot second.
We all fucked up. We don't have dice.
I could have brought my 6.5 pounds of dice.
6.5 pounds of dice.
I could have brought my 6.5 pounds of dice if I was told to prepare for this.
We fucked up. It's our fault. I did not even think of it. Pause for wine drinking.
And getting our shit together.
What's happening?
We paused for wine drinking and getting our shit together.
Yeah, that's fair. What did you pause?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Oh.
We just said pause.
Oh, I was like, the audio is still going. I don't know how you think you paused, but the audio is still there.
No, I'm too scared to touch anything. What if I fuck it up?
Pick a dice. Ellie, storylines, quests, one-shots, campaigns, thoughts, ideas. Oh, that's me being unprofessional. I'm so sorry. That's my
dings and the bings!
That's my Snapchat.
Holy shit.
Take 3.
Take 3. Ugh.
Yeah. But as far as their actions go...
Was that you? Get the fuck out of here. Just throw your phone out the window.
As far as their actions, they have Ghostblade. So they have a melee weapon attack of +6 to hit with a 5-foot range against one target. So it's an 8 to hit and slashing damage, or is it? It's
That was my computer.
That was your computer.
It was.
You comment me on the beeps and the boops.
It's like tit for tat every time.
Yeah. You're coming at me in the comments. Here you are answering Snapchats.